The following is a paid program by Gary C. Johnson, attorney at law. Welcome to Simply the Law, the program that gives you free legal information. Brought to you by the law office of Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt. This is my good friend and the host, Gary C. Johnson.
We're back again.
Gary, I got to clean something up here for my youngest son.
Okay.
The other day, he's watching the program, and he said, "Dad, do you ever realize that you're on television?" So, yes, Cameron, I realize I'm on television. Thank you for watching. So that was to my son. I had to let him know.
Oh, okay.
He just didn't think that you and I knew that we were on television. He thought we were actually talking about the law, and for some odd reason, people were able to watch us.
Are we on television?
Yeah, I think we are.
Hi, folks. Good to be here. Excellent to be here. I've been practicing law a long time. Seems like it's a lifetime, actually. I've seen a lot of things. Seen a lot of hurt people, represented a lot of injured people over the years. Thousands, actually. And it's amazing how that as we live our lives and go through life, we change and our perception of things change. I'll bet you a bunch of you that are watching now don't even recognize the person that you were maybe 10 or 15 years ago, because change is a part of life. One of the reasons I'm doing my advertising the way I do it is that I'm hoping that I can give a little something back to those that have given so much to me and let me make my living over the years. And maybe it'll be a little bit benefit to some of you folks that are courteous enough to let us come and visit with you in your living room. I hope I pass something on that is some benefit to you. If nothing else, I hope I can talk you into not letting life be an ordeal, and that life can be a very joyous event just simply by being there, being where you are supposed to. In other words, don't live yesterday and don't live tomorrow, live today. And live it for the people that are around you. If you're happy right now, you are one of the most wealthy people in the world. I'll say that again.
Gary?
If you are happy right now.
I got to interrupt you here, because I know our viewers that are watching this are going, wait a minute, you don't know my problems, you don't know this. 13 years ago when I met you, you and I were doing a radio program together, and you said, Keith, if you're not happy now, no amount of money that you will ever make in life will ever make you happy. And I said, wait a minute, Gary, that's that old saying, money can't make you happy. And I said, only rich people say that. And you said, who do you think knows? Rich people. And you said, if you're happy now, you'll always be happy. And that was a real key for me 13 years ago. I've never forgot that conversation.
Happiness is literally a state of mind, just like everything else is in our mind. We live in our mind. It's strange when you think about it, that all the things that bring everything and every joy in our life is happening in a place inside our skull that is pitch black. Interesting, huh? Think about that. Inside the brain, there's no light. But yet we're able to do all of these things because of the interpretation that's taking place in that pitch black space. As Einstein said, the mystery of it all is just, it's enough for me just to wonder at it, of life and how we were created and all of those things that make us a human being. And the miracle of life, the miracle of being able to be aware. You won the greatest lottery of all when you were conceived. The chances were billions and billions to one that you would ever be born. Yet we go through life whining and crying because we are unlucky.
Yeah.
When we won the greatest lottery of all, the lottery of being able to be born and the lottery of being able to live a life. Don't waste it. That's my point. And if you're happy, you're wealthy. The only measure of wealth that matters is the barometer of how happy you are. You cannot buy happiness, but you can earn it in your relationships with others. I don't know how I got off on this. I want to go to the computer. I've got stuff I need to talk to you about. Some of it will even be about the law, believe it or not. There's the number. You can download this app that we have by going to our webpage. In general, make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. I'll say it again. Arbitration. Never sign a document agreeing that any dispute will be settled by arbitration. If you don't know what arbitration, if you don't understand what it is, look it up or call us. We'll tell you. I'm not going to go through it right now. Nursing home, co-leases, hospital admissions is where you're now starting to see these organizations trying to get you to sign an arbitration agreement. It is stacked in their favor. Don't do it. You don't stand a chance. Once you sign that arbitration agreement, they can do about what they want to do. Distracted drivers is my subject tonight, and the reason that I want to talk to you about it is there's some compelling statistics, and I said tonight, this actually may be airing during the daytime. Right?
Whenever you're watching it.
Whenever. What is distracted driving? Any activity that could divert a person's attention away from the primary task of driving.
You know, now I know a lot of people right now, Gary, are going to think, okay, that could be talking on the phone, texting, it could be turning around, trying to tend to the children, it could be any of these things, trying to fumble with a CD player, dropping food in the floor. Certainly all those are distracted driving. I have found another one that I've thought about. If you have something on your mind, if you've just had a fight with a wife, you've had a great issue going on at work, you get in the vehicle and your mind is racing and thinking about that. And then all of a sudden, you may have done this, you've passed up your turn and you've thought, oh my goodness, I wasn't thinking about driving, I just passed up the turn that I was supposed to make.
Let me give you, love to use examples, okay? 1/1000. That's a second. If you're traveling 60 miles an hour during that 1/1000, you traveled 88 feet.
Wow.
You see why people get hurt with distracted driving? You see why it happens? Just think about it. 1/1000, 2/1000, 3/1000, 4/1000. You've just traveled over 500 feet in that short period of time at 60 miles an hour. And if you want to know how many feet you're traveling per second, here's a rough thumb measurement. You don't have to be a great mathematician to do it. If you're going 40 miles an hour, you halve that 40 and add 20, and you're traveling approximately 60 feet a second. It's not exact. You'll be off a few feet, but it's a close measurement that you can use. If you're going 20, you're probably traveling close to 30 feet a second. If you're going 70, look how many you're doing. Let's say you decided to do 100. You'll be traveling 150 feet a second almost. That's why it is so dangerous to drive without 100% of what you are doing on the driving. You don't do it, and I don't do it, and Keith don't do it. And you know what that makes us? Dangerous drivers. I'm trying as hard as I can to have my mind on the fact I'm driving this 2,000-pound piece of metal down the highway. It's like a projectile that's a bullet that could kill someone or hurt them. But yet we drive on remote control. We'll drive and not even remember where we've been driving.
You know, Gary, it can be something very innocent, too. You and I are driving through Lexington, and I'm pointing out Rupp Arena to you and talking about construction's going to go on for the Cats in Rupp Arena, and Gary gently reached over and said, you might want to stop at this red light. Now, here I am having a very innocent conversation, just pointing out a landmark, but honestly, I was guilty of distracted driving.
Let me give you an example again. Look, how far did I travel?
150
If I was going
feet.
20 miles an hour, look, I traveled 30 feet. If I say, look, 60.
Now, a lot of people are saying, well, wait a minute.
That's why I'm saying why it's so dangerous. Or I decide I'm going to text. Boom! You're dead. It's dangerous, folks. Well, I decided to answer my cell phone, but I want to see who it's calling first. How far did I travel?
80 feet.
We don't realize how fast we're moving. It's like we're just there. But yet that car you're in doesn't have a mind of its own. It doesn't know to stay on the road. And generally when you say look, you know what you instinctively will do? Look. You will cut the wheel in the direction you're looking.
Now, Gary, everyone knows being impaired on the highway is horrible. We have campaigns against it, law enforcement against it, but isn't the percentage of accidents on the highway far greater because of distracted driving than it is impaired driving?
I got some things on the computer we'll talk about in a minute. Let's take our first break and then we'll come right back.
We're talking about safety on the highway, little things that you might think were innocent, that you were just showing your husband or your wife to look at a landmark or maybe a deer over in a field, and then the next thing you know, you end up in an accident, and you're wondering, how'd that happen? Distracted driving with Gary C. Johnson on Simply the Law. We'll be back right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles. Or call 800-555-5595. At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. Gary, I know everyone watching right now is saying, but I'm not a bad person. I don't break the rules. It was innocent. I just wanted to see that wild turkey that was running through the field over there, and the next thing I know, the car in front of me stopped. It had to be his fault, and I hit him in the back.
This is a perfect example for me to talk about unintentional acts that cause serious harm or injury to others. We have an entire system of body of laws that says simply this: if you're careless and negligent, distracted, and you cause harm to another human being, that human being has the right to file a suit against you and take you to court and recover their damages. You didn't mean to do it. You would never hurt anybody. That would never be something you would ever do. But the end result is someone's hurt. that is our tort system, that is our system of justice in this nation, that if your carelessness, your violation of a safety rule, which is you're supposed to be paying attention and keeping a lookout on the highway instead of looking everywhere in the world, when you do that, you are responsible. And actually you have bought insurance, hopefully that will cover you, and hopefully the other parties bought their underinsurance. But in the end, the ultimate responsibility is yours. And your insurance will stand good for it, hopefully. And don't do it. If you can keep from it, don't do it. You know, a screaming kid is a distraction that is hard to deal with. I've been there, done that. Let's go back to the computer. I got some stuff I want to cover with you guys. All distractions endanger the driver, the passenger, and bystanders' safety, and others on the highway. Texting. That's probably the worst one of all. Using a cell phone or a smartphone. Eating and drinking. In a case yesterday where a coal truck had caused a lot of harm to a man, simply because the person driving the coal truck spilled their drink in their lap and was trying to wipe it off and not paying attention. Talking to passengers, just talking is a distraction. Grooming yourself, fixing your hair and putting a little lipstick on and doing all those things. Reading. I've seen people go down the road with a newspaper in front of them. Or a map, trying to read a map while you're driving. Using your navigation system on your car. Distraction. Watching a video. People have been doing that, especially if they got these iPads. Adjusting a radio or a CD player. All distractions from driving. In 2010, 3,092 people were killed in crashes involving a distracted driver, and an estimated additional 416,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving a distracted driver.
Gary, these stats are true, and what you're talking about is real. Most of you, if you've bought a new vehicle recently, you've probably seen some changes they're making in the vehicles. For instance, the navigation. You can't use the navigation of putting in a point until you pull over and stop the vehicle. It won't let you type it in on some of the newer models.
But you watch it and you look at it.
Yeah, you do. But also they're trying to put hands-free for your radio, that you can change the channel or move the music by not looking and keeping your hands on the steering wheel. So you're seeing already that the impact that this is having, they're making these changes for a reason in the vehicles because of safety issues.
Think about this. Again, I try to use little analogies to put things in perspective for you. 9/11, I'm thinking there was 40-some hundred people killed, if I was right.
I think so.
Yet, look at what happened in this nation because of that. Yet you've got 3,100 people killed every year in car wrecks as a direct result of people driving while distracted. And we're not doing anything about it. We're not realizing that this is a national crisis. And it is. That's 3,000 lives. I'm sure some of them were children, people that had hopes and dreams, innocent people that were killed because of texting and all these things that distract people driving. 416,000 injuries. Think about that. That's almost 500,000. All because we have the ability to choose to be distracted when we're driving.
Gary, how much does the highways make a difference in this? I mean, obviously, if you and I are out in Montana and you can see for 9 miles and you're on a straight road and there's no traffic, you might be able to look over at the deer and not have any problems. But when you're in eastern Kentucky with the curves that we have, the two-lane roads, you can't afford to take your eyes off the wheel at any time, can you?
You can't afford to take your eyes off the road on I-75 or I-64 or even New Circle Road in Lexington because there's so much traffic. It's even worse in eastern Kentucky, but it's bad anymore just about any place you go except maybe far west in Wyoming. It's just dangerous. You say, well, why is Gary, who's a personal injury lawyer who makes his living from having lawsuits involving crashes, why is he out here talking about distracted drivers? Well, I'm telling you, I'm sick of seeing it. I've seen enough. It wouldn't bother me if there was never another injury in a car wreck. I would be tickled to death to know there was never another injury in a car wreck, because that means another human being's life has not been ruined. If I can get just one of you to not text and drive that's watching this program and to not drive distractedly, then maybe I've saved someone else from a whole lot of grief. Bottom line on it. Let's take our break and then we'll come back.
Boy, Gary's made some good points. I'm sure all of us as drivers have had a close call that we've narrowly gotten out of. What if you'd been looking away? What if you'd been texting? What if you'd been distracted? That close call could have been a major accident. We'll be back with Gary C. Johnson, Simply the Law, right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles, or call 800-555-5595. At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. Probably some of the information Gary gave you, you probably didn't realize that you were a distracted driver if you were doing it. Good information, and you've got plenty more. Let's go back to the computer. I've got some more statistics and things I want to share with you folks. I think you need to know this. 18% of injury crashes in 2010 were reported as distraction-affected crashes. That's 1/5. 11% of all drivers under the age of 20 involved in fatal crashes were reported as distracted at the time of the crash. That's 1 out of 10. This age group has the largest proportion of drivers who were distracted, under 20. In the month of June 2011, more than 196 billion text messages were sent or received in the United States, up nearly 50% from June of 2009. And I'll bet you it's more now. Now think about that, 196. A lot of people were driving and texting. Without a doubt.
Text messaging creates a crash risk 23 times worse than driving while not distracted.
Is that because of the amount of time? Because you just gave us the scenario at the beginning of this program of 1001 and look, but you can't text that quick.
Text driving, statistically, texting while you drive is worse than being drunk and driving. It's more likely to cause a serious wreck than it is if the person is driving impaired. Because if you take your eyes off of that wheel and you do whatever you do, you're propelling down that road at a tremendous rate. You're likely to be in a crash.
Gary, is that why we're seeing companies like Apple with the iPhone that have the voice-activated texting, that instead of you using your hands and looking down, you can simply have a voice command and the text goes through because they know these stats?
Siri is a great invention.
Siri is a great
Those
friend.
that don't know what we're talking about, that's on that Apple iPhone, the new one that's out. where you can just say, send a message to Keith, and it will, without you having to do anything. Actually, my Siri won't talk to Keith for some reason.
No, Siri probably tells you, no, you better call somebody else.
Let's go back to the computer for just a second. I got a couple more things I need to show you. Sending or receiving a text takes a driver's eyes from the road an average of 4.6 seconds, the equivalent at 55 miles per hour of driving the length of an entire football field blind.
My goodness.
40% of all American teens say they have been in a car when the driver used a cell phone in a way that put people in danger. Drivers who used handheld devices are 4 times more likely to get into crashes serious enough to injure themselves. Driving while using a cell phone reduces the amount of brain activity associated with driving by over 1/3, 37%. Driving while using a cell phone reduces the amount of brain activity. I just did that one. Kentucky laws. We've got some laws on that. I'll come back to those. Let's take a break.
All right, we're going to take a final break. We'll be back to close out the program. I think you've learned a lot about distracted driving. More with Gary C. Johnson after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. If you've been hurt in a wreck, you need a talented team to help you put your life back together. For more on the talented team we have put together, go to GaryCJohnson.com and click on Attorney Profiles, or call 800-555-5595. At the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, we make our living helping people put their lives back together. We want to represent you. Give us a call.
Welcome back to Simply the Law. It might help you tell your teenager that it is the law. Gary has the laws right now.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Go to the computer. Ban on all cell phone use, handheld and hands-free for bus drivers. Ban on all cell phone use, handheld and hands-free for novice drivers. That's your teenagers, the ones that are just getting it, their license. There's a ban on texting for all drivers in the state of Kentucky. It is illegal. Preemption law prohibits localities from enacting their own distracted driving bans. Now, what that means is the county and city can't enact laws on this. It has to be the state of Kentucky. All this information and statistics came from distraction.gov website. Oh, I've got to talk about motorcycles. Insurance agents will not put personal injury protection on your motorcycle insurance unless you demand it. Review your policy and make sure it is identical to your car insurance policy, and have a nice day.
Gary, last thing, maybe if you're going to use a phone, get a Bluetooth, make sure you get a vehicle that has hands-free, maybe in the dash, and also find out about Siri. That'll help you also.
Right.
My friend, thank you. Great information. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you watching the show, and hopefully you got some great information from this. On behalf of my friend Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you again on Simply the Law.